Okay, so I am going to start by saying one of the most panic-inducing sentences that you will probably hear for the rest of your life, and it is made of only 6 tiny words. What do you want for dinner? For most of us, these tiny little words are enough to throw us into a state of absolute panic because suddenly we have no idea what we want to have for dinner. We have a billion options running through our head and a trillion other reasons why we should or shouldn't have each and every one of them. Well, don't worry, you have been visited by the not so friendly neighborhood monster, indecision. You see, I call it a monster, but you might also call it an epidemic. Decision making is an extremely important process. Tricky, yes, but it also has the capability to shape your destiny. Let me tell you a little bit about indecision. The Oxford Dictionary defines indecision as the inability to make decisions quickly. In fact, we often ignore just how important a process decision making is. It is tricky, but it also has the capability to shape your destiny. We as average people take around 36,000 decisions every single day and spend at least 7 waking hours a week making them. Not just this, everything in our life is governed by decisions. From what shoes you wear with that dress, to where you live, to who you spend the rest of your life with, to the career you choose and the subjects you take, and what food you eat for dinner. Thus, it is kind of bizarre that we give the process of decision making such little importance. It is widely acknowledged that the organizations that have outrun their competitors by leaps and bounds have extremely good decision making and implementation skills. Be it Tata, Walmart, Toyota, Apple, Samsung or Ford, all of these companies are doing so well simply because they have entire teams dedicated to just making these decisions and implementing them. Scaling it down to a personal level, we all probably know that one friend who has everything sorted way before the rest of us and thus obviously is more successful than the rest of us. The answer is simple. He had a head start on all the rest of you because he took the time to decide everything beforehand. This proof of its benefits everywhere, from the fact that universities give extra preference to people who apply early to multinational companies dedicating entire teams simply to decision making. We all have by now understood that decision making has a wide plethora of benefits. So why is it that we laymen have not started capitalizing on something so very useful? We all know the fear and the panic that not being able to take a decision causes, that familiar feeling of cold, helpless foolishness when you just don't know what you want. Today I am here to tell you that we are going to do away with indecision. Today I am here to tell you that we are going to do away with indecision slowly and steadily and strategically. The first thing to understand is every decision is not your last. It is not the last dress you are ever going to buy, it is not the last meal you are ever going to eat or the last chance you will get at choosing your career. So it is okay if you take time to make a few bad decisions because you have the time to rectify them in the future. So, lesson number 1, it's not your last decision. Secondly, we need to understand that the process of decision making is far more important than the decision itself because the way we analyze something usually has a great effect on its consequences. So, lesson number 2, the decision making process in itself is much greater than the decision. Now, lesson number 3 is something that will come as a surprise to most of you. Wrong decisions made quickly are often much better than right decisions made slowly. You see, if we give a decision a lot of time and we spend a lot of time debating whether or not it's correct, that time could just as well be spent on rectifying a bad decision. On the other hand, if you make a decision quickly, the very worst that could happen is that it has a few bad immediate consequences. But the same time that you spend deciding could also be spent rectifying such a decision. With these 3 lessons, all you need is knowledge and strategy, and you have the perfect mix for decision making. Now that we know what to do, let's take up a simple problem that is the common cold of all decision-making problems. What do you want for dinner? Implementing lesson number 1, we see that it is not the last meal you are ever going to have, so you can take a back seat and enjoy for once. Lesson number 2 asks us to give more importance to decision making than the decision itself. So we're going to use a very simple strategy. If you're staying in a place for a longer time, it makes sense to explore different places because the information that you gain is much more valuable than just one bad meal. Science says that the information you gain increases in value the more time you spend in a particular place. So, if you're in a place you're going to spend a lot of time in, explore new options. On the other hand, if you're in a place that you're only spending a short time in, stick with something you know for sure will be good so that you can have a good meal and also not waste your time. Moving on to the third lesson. A wrong decision made quickly is better than a right decision made slowly. This applies in all spheres of life and will definitely help you in whatever decision you have to take. Thus, today let us all take a stand to finally take decisions and stand by them. As individuals, as a part of our community and as global citizens, let us do away with indecision surely and steadily. Thank you and bon appetit.